Imagine thinking the British public had moved on. Imagine believing that a few curated photo ops, a Paris runway appearance, and a charity speech could rewrite years of distrust, resentment, and media chaos. Yet here we are, whispers of Meghan Markle and Prince Harry plotting a UK comeback, wrapped in polished PR and disguised as humanitarian outreach. The irony? It's almost poetic. After years of insisting they'd found freedom across the Atlantic, they might be coming back to the very place they claimed was their cage. It began quietly, too quietly. A few insider leaks to the Daily Mail about a bold return. Before Christmas, another report hinting that Meghan was eyeing homes in the Cotswolds, of all places, the same sleepy, Honeystone Hills where they once rented a cottage before the royal fallout. Then, right on cue, a public statement from their Archewell Foundation, released not through Buckingham Palace, not even through a press conference, but as a perfectly timed post celebrating the International Day of the Girl. At first glance, the message looked innocent, noble even. Archewell praised half the story, a youth-led initiative on digital wellness and mental health. They spoke of amplifying diverse young voices, of students in dialogue with policymakers, connection in schools with limited phone use. All good things, right? But the timing was too sharp to ignore. 3 days earlier, headlines had swirled with Harry and Meghan to return to Britain before the year is out. And now suddenly, a heartfelt statement, perfectly worded elegantly. Distracting, completely avoiding the topic everyone was talking about. It's the oldest PR trick in the book. When speculation gets messy, drown it in purpose. Talk about social causes, empowerment, mental health, anything that feels morally unassailable. Because who would dare criticize a message about young girls' well-being? It's bulletproof altruism, the kind that doubles as image repair. And Meghan Markle has mastered that art. But let's rewind. January 2020, the world still remembers the chaos of Megxit. The late Queen blindsided, the palace scrambling, the tabloids frothing at the mouth. Harry and Meghan announced they were stepping back from royal duties to become financially independent. Within months, the couple had moved to California, landed a multi-million-dollar Netflix deal, and launched Archewell, a brand that felt less like a charity and more like a lifestyle empire. Documentaries, podcasts, speeches, awards, leaving the spotlight. They were redesigning it. Fast forward 5 years, and that reinvention is showing cracks. The Spotify deal collapsed. The Netflix partnership stumbled. Critics accused them of chasing visibility under the guise of virtue. And the British public, once divided, seemed united on one front: exhaustion. So why, after all this, would they even think of coming back? Enter the Cotswolds, the idyllic stretch of English countryside where privacy meets prestige. It's not just quaint, it's cinematic. Rolling green fields, ancient churches, celebrity neighbors like James Corden, Ellen DeGeneres, even Beyoncé rumored to have property nearby. For Meghan, it's not nostalgia. It's strategy. If they must return, better to do it as Hollywood royalty than royal exiles. Sources whisper that Harry is the one pushing for reconnection. He's reportedly more open to returning than Meghan. His motives tied to causes: veterans, mental health, Invictus Games. His roots pull him back. Hers, perhaps, remind her why she left. But Meghan's calculus has always been pragmatic: power through perception. And nothing says rebranding success like a triumphant UK comeback framed as service. So while the press talks about house hunting, Archewell pushes feel-good messaging. They attend the World Mental Health Day festival in New York, cameras flashing, speeches flowing. Meghan accepts the Humanitarian of the Year award. The optics are flawless: compassion, leadership, grace. Yet, beneath the surface, another story is writing itself, one about image resurrection. Because here's what seasoned observers know: every Meghan and Harry statement, event, or award sits atop a timeline of precision. Nothing is accidental. When Daily Mail headlines say, "Return before Christmas," and Archewell suddenly posts about young girls and empathy, it's not coincidence, it's choreography. The story isn't, are they returning? It's, how can they return without losing face? And that's where Project Thor reportedly comes in. the rumored campaign. Named after the god of thunder, designed to rebuild their public narrative. If it sounds theatrical, it's because it is. Behind the smiles and soft-focus photos lies a strategy rooted in narrative control. To re-enter Britain not as prodigals begging acceptance, but as evolved philanthropists, heroes of their own arc. Imagine the potential script. The couple matured by exile, returning to bridge divides to continue their humanitarian journey. The same tabloids that once called them deserters now reframe them as visionaries. It's the redemption tour that sells itself and sells magazines, but redemption has a price. In Britain, memory runs long. The interviews with Oprah, the Netflix docuseries, the memoir that threw shade on family and institution alike. These aren't forgotten, they're archived. And every smiling photo op on British soil risks reopening the wounds they inflicted. For the public, it's not just about forgiveness, it's about credibility. You can almost picture the scene. A sleek black Range Rover gliding through narrow Oxfordshire lanes. Meghan in neutral tones, Harry beside her. Cameras flash, headlines scream. Sussex's return. For some, it's nostalgia. For others, insult. Because to many Britons, this isn't just a couple coming home. It's a brand re-entering a market it once denounced. The irony is rich. For years, they framed their story as escape from press intrusion, from royal hierarchy, from the toxic culture of duty over well-being. And yet, 5 years later, their every move is still wrapped in the same media frenzy they claimed to flee. It's not escape they achieved. It's evolution, from royalty to celebrity, from institution to influence. Even their language reflects it. The Archewell statement didn't mention Britain once, yet the subtext screamed relevance. Amplifying young voices, supporting mental health, dialogue with policymakers, all themes that align perfectly with the UK's own political mood. They're not talking to New York teens. They're rehearsing for Westminster optics. And that's where it gets fascinating. Because Meghan Markle understands narrative framing better than most. Every camera angle, every speech, every accidental leak is part of the brand mythology. She isn't just living her life. She's curating a saga, the misunderstood Duchess, the silenced woman who found her voice. And now perhaps the prodigal advocate returning home to heal. But is Britain ready to be healed by her? That's the million-pound question. For every fan eager to see reconciliation, there's a critic ready to remind the world of every contradiction. The same tabloids that built her up are sharpening their knives again, preparing to dissect every outfit, every smile, every word. Because Meghan's image, like royalty itself, thrives on scrutiny. Still, the potential power move is undeniable. Imagine Christmas at Sandringham, a surprise. Reconciliation, tearful headlines, global attention, a royal reset wrapped in fairy lights. It's the kind of spectacle that unites a nation for a day and reboots a reputation for years. But make no mistake, this isn't about family. It's about legacy. Harry's motivations seem pure. A soldier's longing for home, a son's hope to reconnect with his brother before the gulf grows unbridgeable. Meghan's are different, strategic. Hollywood's affection is fickle, and royal nostalgia still sells. A return to the UK framed correctly could reposition her from celebrity duchess to international humanitarian leader. And that's not just redemption. It's reinvention 2.0, yet the challenge remains. How do you rebuild a bridge you publicly burned? How do you convince a nation that watched you air its monarchy's secrets that you've come back in good faith? You don't apologize, you recontextualize. You wrap your return in social good, in education, in the next generation. You make the story not about you, but about the world you're helping. That's exactly what Archewell's recent statement did. Beneath the empowering language, it quietly shifted the spotlight, away from rumors toward cause. From Meghan. Returns to Meghan leads. From royal tension to global mission. And for now it's working. The press bites the bait, covering the initiative, and by extension, covering her. Still, something feels different this time. The glitz seems thinner, the applause softer. There's fatigue in the air, not hatred, just weariness. Because at some point, every fairy tale loses its shine. Every comeback feels like a rerun. And for Meghan and Harry, who built their post-royal brand on authenticity, every perfectly staged photo risks looking like performance. Yet, as polarizing as they are, they remain magnetic. You can love them or loathe them, but you can't ignore them. They've become the mirror through which modern celebrity and monarchy reflect, blurred, inseparable, and endlessly self-referential. So maybe this UK return isn't just about geography. Maybe it's symbolic, a return to narrative control, to legacy reclamation, a way of saying, we decide when the story ends. Because in their world, silence isn't retreat. It's set up dot, and when the Archewell statement ends with lines about connection and learning, you can almost hear the echo, connection, with a country once lost. Learning from a past that never quite healed. It's elegant spin, yes, but also strangely poetic. Whether Britain buys it is another story. But one thing's certain, Meghan Markle doesn't move without a plan. Every word, every cause, every carefully released image builds toward a single goal, to rewrite her own myth. One act of service at a time. So when the headlines announce her looking at Cotswold homes, don't picture a quiet retreat. Picture a stage being rebuilt. Because in the end, Meghan's story has never been about escape. It's about control. Control of narrative, of image, of destiny. And perhaps that's the most British thing of all, returning not as a subject, but as the author of your own crownless monarchy. The question is, will the kingdom turn the page with her, or simply watch from afar as she writes her next act alone?